Welcome to Game Set Match Up, the podcast where we talk everything partnerships, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, so on this week's podcast, we spoke to Lyndsey Fish. It's from a company called TUNE. So they are based in Seattle in the USA, and they have a technology platform which helps businesses to manage marketing partnerships across mobile and web. So essentially, it's an all-in-one platform where you are able to maximize your ROI with your most important partners. So listen on to find out some more detail about the whole sort of partner marketing world. Lyndsey talks about how TUNE's platform is making sure that they are as flexible as possible, so they can support and link in with lots of different software, which in turn makes much more easier for them to sort of interact with lots of different businesses. Also gives us some of her top tips on how to build engaging teams and winning cultures. And we also get to hear her take on how she sees the future of partnerships with TUNE in the partner marketing world. So as usual, sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode. Okay, hey everyone, welcome to Game Set Matchup. So this is a podcast where we discuss all things partnerships. So maybe you are new to the partnerships world, looking for some advice on how to get started, or you could be maybe an experienced pro and just looking for some new inspiration or direction. So whichever one it is, thank you for tuning in. So I'm your host, Carl Busby, and today please welcome our guest. We have Lyndsey Fish, who is the Director of Partnerships at a company called TUNE. Hello and welcome, Lyndsey.
Thanks, Carl. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. So look, we'll do what we usually do, just so we can get a little bit of overview and introduction to kind of like sort of who you are, and I'll tell our listeners a little bit more. Maybe we can tell a bit about your background, what you're doing in your sort of current role, obviously at TUNE, and then also like what is TUNE? What is it all about?
Sure, happy to share. I come from an agency background and been at TUNE now for about 2.5 years, as you mentioned, Director of Partnerships. And so joined TUNE to oversee all of our traditional partnerships, meaning media partners to work with our advertisers, as well as overseeing our agency relationships and technical partnerships and manage our referral program. So there's a lot underneath that broad partnerships umbrella. Yeah. And as far as TUNE goes, we're an affiliate marketing platform that allows people to build their partner programs the way they want to. So meaning, at TUNE, we're not a walled garden, we like to say, where you have to be accepted into that garden in order to work with advertisers. We like to think we offer the best of both worlds. So on TUNE, anyone can partner with each other. So unlike traditional networks or platforms where you have more rules and guidelines for who is allowed inside of that, with TUNE, you have more control over your program. So we're really building tech to facilitate any sub-network or advertiser to build a relationship that they consider to be a fit for them.
Okay, well, yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I'd like to just ask a quick question, like in terms of obviously you're in a partnerships role now. When we've spoken to like previous guests, we'd like to get a bit of background just to see like how you got to be, in that type of role. A lot of people we speak to come from sort of like a sales background. Some people fall into it by accident in terms of like, it just they come up and they think, oh, that sounds interesting. But it's always like, it's just interesting to know like how, and is partnership something you've always kind of wanted to get into? Or again, is it just something that's kind of happened as like a natural progression, in terms of the roles that you've done in like previous businesses?
Sure. I think that's a great question. And in the affiliate industry, I think a lot of people I've spoken to, we've fallen into it. When I was in college, that wasn't a marketing vertical that was taught. And so when I went out into the working world, I really was thrown into the channel. That I was at a small company and they were running an affiliate program, but the C-suite didn't really know much about the program, or we certainly didn't have budget to spend on it. So they sort of said, Lyndsey, go, just run that, take it over and learn about it. And that's just what I did. And then I ended up moving across country and just serendipitously fell into an agency where I learned the bulk of my experience in the industry, and I was managing a portfolio of advertisers. And so, advertisers don't have a partnership program without the partner. So I quickly realized how important it is to build relationships, and how this industry is just that. It's really fundamental to have a strong relationship with the partners. Yeah. Think strategically, talk strategically about how to work together and be open. And so it was over those years that I formed a lot of the relationships and fell in love with the partnerships industry, and went on to TUNE to continue driving that.
Nice. That's a nice little story to came together at the right time, sounds like.
Yeah, it's all timing, right? So it's funny to look back.
Yeah.
It's funny to look back at your naive self and think like, wow, I was just kind of like trucking along. And if I were to go back to those jobs now and do them with all the knowledge I have, I'd be fabulous. But it worked out.
Yeah, well, give that, because that's that. We're going to touch on that a bit later. So, in terms of, like I said, what you would sort of tell your younger self. But so that's brilliant. So just to kind of start off, obviously, again, at Finder, obviously, we're all about obviously partnerships here. So, just interesting to see your views on how you've seen sort of TUNE's approach change to creating partnerships sort of in recent times. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to everyone over the last, sort of 2-3 years, the whole world has completely changed with COVID. We have much more obviously hybrid working, people working from home. I mean, it's just a completely different sort of completely different place. So, what would you sort of say? How have you sort of seen TUNE's sort of approach maybe change to sort of creating partnerships maybe than it was before? And then also like within that, what's like a we class as a gold star partnership for for TUNE?
Sure. Formerly TUNE was has offers. And so our technology and our platform was built to support sub-affiliate networks. Okay. And so, those sub-affiliate networks operate pretty differently to how advertisers operate. And so I think our view of partnerships has expanded as we've expanded to support advertiser relationships. And within that, I've always been impressed with how the way TUNE thinks very openly about partnerships, and I certainly do as well. And so we certainly have competition, but we're pretty network agnostic, and we can work in concert with others. So our tech is really flexible. We sort of coined the term post-back. We have really flexible APIs that allows folks to work together. So many of our advertisers work with us as well as our competition, and we are perfectly fine with that. Because we want to offer tech that allows people to work easily with each other, and whoever that may be. We don't want to be the ones in between those relationships. So I think we continue to have an open mind and flexibility within us for how people partner, and that's why we often say, partner the way you want to on TUNE. And our goal is to make sure that continues to ring true. In terms of what a gold star partnership is to TUNE, I think whether it's a platform, agency, or traditional partnership, it's both parties putting in an equal amount of effort to make it work. I think you can't have a one-sided partnership. Absolutely. So anyone who's willing to work together, I think is sort of our gold star. And we've tried to really pinpoint, like who the best partner is, but I think it differs so greatly amongst, businesses. So one partner who might be amazing for one advertiser we have might not be for another. And so we want to step back and just say, that's for you to decide. Here's our platform to do it on. No, that's a good points. I think sounds like what you're saying in terms of having the flexibility you've got with the technology, or like you said, the APIs and stuff like that. That sounds like a real sort of win there. It's one of the things I was going to ask, like what's
differentiates you from all the other companies, but you've kind of just touched on it there in terms of like I said, what obviously what TUNE can offer there. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, again, just obviously sticking on the theme of partnerships. How does TUNE go about actually creating them? So obviously, as you said, very, very heavily involved in terms of what you're looking after. How are you going about actually looking for partners to create? So I mean, for example, obviously at Finder, we obviously help support people in terms of getting that first meeting together, having that first discovery call, for them to be able to talk about what it is each other offers, and then to find if there's any synergies in between them. Obviously, there's like networking events, but I'm just interested in terms of TUNE, like how do you go about creating them?
Sure. Yeah. There's a number of ways, of course. And so like we found each other via LinkedIn, which is a great source. We attend many conferences, which is also a great source. But within sort of those partnership buckets that I mentioned earlier, traditional partners, agency partners, more strategic partners, like Finder and ourselves, I would bucket you guys in a strategic partnership. We sort of look into those buckets and lean on the current partners that we have to expand within them. So we have team members who go looking for traditional media partners to add to our marketplace, and we'll sort of get those from our advertisers or our current agencies. And we're always kind of staying open to who's new in the space and trying to talk to them to understand, okay, how can we facilitate this relationship? I consider us to be I call us the matchmakers of partnerships. We have criteria, and we learn new businesses, and then we'll say, oh, okay, you might be a great fit for X advertiser, or advertiser Y, you might be a great fit for this partner we recently met. Right.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny you use the word obviously matchmaking. I mean, that's kind of how we that's how we describe Finder as well. Sort of basically we are like a matchmakers for businesses essentially. So just use that term. We like to call ourselves that as well. That's great. Just what we touched on before. And I always, I find this an interesting question to ask. So, what sort of advice do you think you would give to yourself, your younger self, sort of starting out? So, obviously, you've, touched on before in terms of how you came into being this role and be in the partnership sort of world. But like I said, any advice, the do's and don'ts of, sort of partnership creation, or like I said, anything specific you think that would be key that you would advise your younger self?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of advice that I would give my younger self, but in terms of, in the spirit of partnerships, I think I would say, continue to think, have this motto run in your mind of you can ask and they can say no. I think when I was younger, I was afraid to ask questions. I was afraid to maybe advocate for myself a little bit stronger. And in the spirit of partnerships, if you don't reach out and ask, hey, could this be a fit, or I have this idea, or this might be far-fetched, but what do you think? It takes that opening to start the conversation. And I can't count how many partnerships have begun in that way, where you think, oh, there's nothing here, but you have a discussion and you find a strategic avenue to work together. I think that's a good outlook to have, and just to have the confidence to ask. Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's good advice. You might find yourself on a podcast.
No, exactly. I think that's a good point. Like, again, at Finder, we say that we obviously matchmaker for businesses, but sometimes people will think, oh, they look at a particular business or company and think, oh, do you know what, there's just nothing, there wouldn't be anything there. But if you have that conversation, you just never quite know what connections that person can have, what network they're into. And we've seen it happen before many times where people come together on things. So I think that's some very, very, very good advice there. just moving on to our next question. So again, I'm not sure obviously how it works at TUNE in terms of if you manage any specific teams yourself, or it can be maybe some experience of a previous role. But would you say, have you got any sort of top tips when it comes to creating high performing teams, or having those really good sort of winning cultures in the business? I think it's not rocket science, but everyone knows that those are two quite key components to having a good team working for you in terms of obviously going out and trying to support in the whole partnerships world. So any sort of tips around that sort of thing?
That's a great question, and I think a lot of folks look at all form and less substance. Mm-hmm. We tend to look at, and what I mean by that is we tend to look at like a resume. What have you accomplished? Yeah. What have you done? That's exactly like this, whatever that role is that you're hiring for. But particularly with partnerships, I find that, having a high EQ matters. You need to be able to pivot and think strategically and openly. And there's not, there's not a form to follow necessarily. Yeah. So I think like the substance matters a lot more. And so I look for team members that are open, that, don't think super rigidly about checking a task box, and are able to sort of like work in a flexible way and think openly and just have sort of the grit to continue to build a partnership. It might take a long time, it might be a year in the making. So do you sort of have like the wherewithal to follow that and see it through? So I think those qualities are really important in team members, at least in the partnerships realm. Yeah.
No, I really like that. I think, again, that sort of resonates a lot with me in terms of, when you're obviously hiring, or just in the case of like people may have, certain things, like I said, ticked on a form and stuff, but until you actually get to speak to that person, there's so many qualities and traits you can see in somebody, which you're not going to see on a bit of paper.
Right.
All the qualifications, everything in the world, but like I said, what is this? How that person, the attitude, everything that they've got, you can sort of tell if that person's going to be someone that's going to be right fit for your business essentially. So
I completely agree. Yeah, there's some traits you can't teach, right? Like having a positive attitude and outlook is harder to teach than, hey, this is how to look at this. This is the definition of ex partner. So
no, that's absolutely, that was spot on. So just on to the next one. What do you sort of think the future holds for business when it comes to creating partnerships? I mean, I know I've spoken to a few businesses where partnerships is quite a new thing to their business, and they're kind of still trying to work out how it works or how that's going to look in terms of building teams around it. But what do you think, if anything, you and sort of TUNE will be trying to do sort of differently in the future, maybe that you're not quite doing at the moment?
Yeah, I think the channels has been evolving and continues to evolve, and I think it will continue to do that. And so it's hard to compare partnerships to other channels because, it's you can track it. There's a lot of like mutual benefits in the relationship. And so I think for the future of TUNE in the industry is that we want to continue to support as many different players in the industry. The definition and idea of who a partner is continues to expand. And so for us, whether it's networks, publishers, agencies, or technical partners, we want to continue being that connective tissue and make it easy for all of those parties to work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, so that sounds spot on. As I said, again, if you've if you can work with multiple different entities, then you're kind of sort of cementing yourself being around in the future sort of thing. So that's brilliant. Cool. Well, we'll round this off. Sort of one last question. Just a little bit of fun. I'll just see what kind of ideas people just come up with on the top of their head. Okay. If you could partner with any business or like a particular person. I mean, it can obviously be anyone, that you think would work well in what your, the current role in terms of what you're doing with TUNE. Is anyone, any particular business or person?
Well, I'll name one party. Okay. That they're just the largest. They're an enormous behemoth of a partner in the affiliate space, right? And it's Rakuten Rewards. That's not going to surprise anybody. Okay. So from the moment I joined TUNE, we need to get Rakuten Rewards. We need to get Rakuten Rewards, and because they're so large, they have very specific criteria to be able to work with them. To which we have been working on building out since I started at TUNE. So it's been 2.5 years in the making. And it's very timely because we've just launched the functionality that they need. And it's going to be the largest partnership for them and for us this year. So they won't be surprised. It's like announcing, my crush on Live Air, but it's Rakuten Rewards. They're such a large partner. So we're really excited to work with them.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, that's brilliant. As I was going to say, it sounds like it's already you've already got like a little bit of relationship there. Otherwise, we would have tried and put a good word in for you. But like I said, look forward to seeing obviously how that will work out in the future. Listen, it's been absolutely amazing to talk and catch up with you. Like I said, really appreciate you coming on, just spending your time with us at Finder and just giving us your experiences. Like I said, we really appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carl. It's been great, and happy to have spoken to Finder today. And thanks for having me.
All right, thanks very much. Okay, bye.
Thanks for joining this week's Game Set Matchup. Tune in to hear more about the need to knows and the do's and don'ts when it comes to creating successful business partnerships.